Da 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 da. Hi, welcome to disenFRIENDSchised. I'm Karen Bulinski Mathison from TheNakedGrief, and I am here today to discuss the Friends episode 18, the one with all the poker. Just so you know, these podcasts are about disenfranchised grief, used in articulating it through the lens of Friends episodes. And from what I've seen, every Friends episode has some form of disenfranchised grief in one way or another. So the one with all the poker is actually kind of a short episode because all of the friends are together doing the poker thing. We have one little side caveat. Rachel has finally decided she is done with the coffee house and wants to get out in the real world and start her career or her dream job working in shopping. So she's getting her resume out and everybody's helping her with that. They discover that there's a typo in the resume and she has that witty comment of, "Do you think it's on all of the resumes?" Anyhow, um it's an identity shift. And if anybody caught my Heroes in Grief podcast with Tom Bender, I was explaining on there about how grief is everything other than death. Bereavement and mourning are about death. Grief is everything else. So even leaving a job you don't like can be grieving because of the fact that it's that shift that even if we're prepared for it, it still can rattle us sometimes. So it's those challenges and how to get through them. So she's leaving her job as just a waitress and getting out into the real world now. And then the girls also go through a little bit of a adjustment period when they learn that the boys have poker nights and intentionally don't invite the girls. And the guys say it's because they didn't think they knew how to play and they really didn't want to have to teach them, which makes sense, right? But it's a lot more fun when there's more than 3 people. So they do cave and they do start teaching them and the girls lose big time. And then Monica makes a phone call to a family member who comes in and teaches them, which is important to know. But we deal with a lot of things within the episode. The loss inside the episode is identity loss and role loss. Rachel's grieving the gap between who she is right now and who she wants to be. And then there's loss of hope. She lets herself hope that she's going to get this job that was such a perfect fit for her. And it was a great interview. And she felt so on top of the world. I'm going to get this. I feel so confident. Let's play cards tonight. And then she gets a phone call halfway through poker night that says she didn't get the job. And it hits hard, and you can see that it hits hard when she raises the ante and Ross, one of them says, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, it's a $5 limit or $2 limit." And she says, "You know what? I just lost a job. I can do what I want. It's going to be $10 or whatever she said. I can't remember now." And everybody was like, "Step back. This is going to be between Rachel and Ross, apparently." And they went back and forth with a nice steady volley until they were grabbing people's purses and wallets and throwing everything under the sun in. But the episode is also about the loss of dignity and competence. The resume typo thing. It's funny, but it's humiliation and it happens, right? So I just recently published books. Might as well call myself out there. Recently published books. Went through the whole process of making sure that the layout looked good and the graphics looked nice. And I put a sticker over top that says limited edition because underneath it says finally with one L. Proofed everything except the daggone cover. So this is what it should look like versus what it did. And this is volume 2. These books have been out now for a month, and I've already done 3 publishings. Because you know what? When it's got 5 stories, you need something called a table of contents. when you're self publishing, these are the things that you learn trial and error, going through. Anyway, she had however many resumes, missed a spelling until half of them were already enveloped and stamped. Well, if anybody has ever done a job interview, when you see that somebody can't spell a word right, it does make you question things. I have to be honest, even on dating apps, if somebody is spelling something wrong or not capitalizing something that should be capitalized, I am not swiping you my way. Nope. I want somebody that at least knows how to have the basics down. So we all go through it. Dating interviews, job interviews, kind of the same thing, a little bit. The relationship loss. Ross is sitting in the tension of wanting Rachel and not having her. It's not a breakup, but it's still grief. He's longing and he's uncertain. And every time he wants to make a move, something else happens. Like she didn't get the job. So he can comfort her as a friend, but stepping in to suddenly go, want to go out sometime? While she's feeling broken, timing is not good. Just like episode one, asking her if maybe sometime in the future, when the woman's in a wedding dress, was the right move, Ross. Asking her on a true date while she's in a wedding dress, probably not so smart. Social comparison loss. So Rachel's also trying to go and get this career change because everybody around her has real jobs. Joey's an actor, yes, and it's not consistent work, but he's consistently going out and working. Even if it's spraying cologne, he's got something steady coming in while he's doing a lot of auditions every week. And we see him like every 2 or 3 episodes, he's either at an audition, in a play, or rehearsing lines. Like there's always something. So we know he's a struggling actor, but he doesn't stop. We know Monica's a successful chef. Phoebe is a masseuse. Chandler is, as Rachel likes to say, a transponder person. He deals with the weenus, the monthly numbers, and computer analytics. And Ross right now is a paleontologist. So they all have these big jobs that they may or may not have had to go on to continued education for, or at least develop skills for. Massage therapy, acting. It doesn't always come naturally, folks. Um, and then when you see everybody being successful and you can barely make rent, yeah, it's time to start looking for a job. And it's scary because you want it to just happen. In fact, pivoting a little bit, I was talking to somebody just yesterday, actually, about relationships and how it's so easy to want to just jump till date 15. You already know them, you know the dance, you know the rhythm that you guys move to, you know what to do for them on a hard day. They know how to show up for you on a hard day, and you're not guessing. But what's the fun in that? I say this because eventually Phoebe says, but it'll be like dating Ross starting on date 15. So it's a true fact. You want that comfort, you want the less pressure of having to always pick somewhere to go and meeting in public and everything. You want to eventually be able to invite them back to your house to cuddle by the fire, watch some TV, play a game at the table, help me cook dinner. Like those are exciting things, but so is everything that leads up to it. It's the anticipation of who's going to get to the restaurant first tonight. And I wonder if he's going to bring me anything. Should I have brought him something? Um, Maybe I'll treat to a bottle of wine or some beer for the ride, like to get them back to the house. You think about all these things, and jumping ahead, you lose that excitement. You lose those butterflies. You lose because now it's comfortable. And those beginning dates is extremely uncomfortable. And not really sure how I went off on this, but I really wanted to share that because sometimes we need the anticipation. We need something to look forward to. For Rachel, it's looking forward to doing a career shift, hoping that it's going to happen ASAP, not understanding that she lives in New York City and for each job that gets opened, 1,000 people are applying. Again, for those that don't know, I live in Delaware. We have less than 1 million people in this state. Anne Arundel County, Maryland, where I moved from, has more people in the county than this whole entire state. That's wild to me. I think Rhode Island is smaller than Delaware and has a higher population. So, yeah, just to compare here, people. Um, so that career identity grief is something real. And the hope grief of really wanting that next big thing and anticipating being able to let go of the coffeehouse apron and the humiliation grief of getting laughed at because your resume is spelled has misspelled words, and the ambiguous grief of Ross having feelings for Rachel and never being able to find the right time to say, "Hey Rach, you know I like you as more than a friend." But that's a hard conversation too. And we see it later on in the seasons when Rachel debates whether or not she should tell Ross that she's in love with him still. And because everybody likes to hear, "I love you." At least that's what Rachel says. But, all right, so I have this theory, and the people that know me, I've said this so much recently. So, this is what I don't get. When you are in a big relationship and you decide you want to do that next big step and propose, and you come out with all the stops, you get this gorgeous ring, you plan the right meal, the right venue, you know which knee to get down on in that exact moment that you want to say, "Will you marry me?" This is where I don't understand. If the girl decides the ring isn't good enough, which that's a big red flag for the guy, or if the proposal wasn't big enough, another big red flag for the guy, or they're just not in love with you, which would be really bad because if you're proposing, they've probably been saying "I love you" all the way along since that first time it was said. This is where I don't understand. I get it if it's timing. I really get it if it's timing. Like for myself, very personal note here, but something that I received from my husband was medical benefits for me and my boys until they are in their late 20s, as long as I do not remarry. So even if I were to fall madly in love with somebody, can't do it. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't mind being called a fiance one day. What's wrong with a long engagement? I wouldn't say no to a proposal. But when people do it in the movies and they say no, the relationship just explodes. It's over. There's no, "All right, well, let's just go home and sleep on it." It's just end. The end, done. Why? If I'm not ready for that, why does it have to end if I'm just saying not now? Why can't we continue to live together or continue to have separate homes and spend so much of our time together? Why do we have to have a title? And why, if I say no, does it have to mean it's over? But why also does the girl have to say no at all? Yes. Do you mind if it's a long engagement? Can we be engaged for 5 years? Are you okay with that? I'm committing to you. I just want to take my time with all the extras. Maybe you're really planning a big getaway or a fancy honeymoon. Maybe you want to do a cruise around the world for 300 days. And that takes time to plan. It's a $70,000 a person cruise. You may need a decade to save up. I don't know. Just throwing that out there. But anyway, um, it is something and it's bothered me because you see it all the time on these movies and these TV shows, and it's like, why? So moving back into Friends. we see some different coping styles with the group too. So Rachel has a problem focused. Her problem focused coping revolves around her resumes, interviews, and trying to change her situation. She recognizes she's got a problem and she's very focused on trying to create a new outcome. The emotional discharge after the rejection, she channels pain into her poker fight. And it's humorous on the episode, but haven't we all done something similar? Maybe it's being up for a promotion that you don't get, and then you decide, well, maybe I just won't try as hard at work. If you're not going to promote me when I'm busting my butt, why should I keep trying so hard? Not really the right way to think about it. But logically, there is a part of us that's like, I have a solution. I'm going to retaliate. I'm just going to do less. Or in a friendship or a relationship, maybe you expect people to show up in certain ways. And when they don't, rather than dancing towards them to help correct that behavior or show them how you need them to be, they take a step back, you take a step back. Now you're not dancing at all. You're not dancing together anyway. You might be on the same dance floor, but maybe you're dancing more like Chandler Bing with the instead of moving and grooving together. So, yeah, we all have a little bit of emotional discharge at times. And the anger as armor, getting sharp and competitive because sadness feels too exposed. Now, if you guys are watching this right on time, it's the first full week of 2026. It's, what is today? January 9th? Yeah, January 9th. And we've had a full 9 days into the new year. Um the holidays hit pretty hard for anybody who's experienced any type of loss. You're missing that family member at the table during the holidays. You're maybe without your last girlfriend or boyfriend. Maybe your kids weren't able to come home. Um, maybe the usual trip to grandma's just doesn't happen anymore. So that can bring some sadness. And when the excitement and the busyness dwindles away and those last Christmas decorations get put away and the house is silent, that's when the grief and the anger can be really loud. I actually had to apologize to several of my friends for through the last week of December and into now, really, I've started to snap back. And said, I'm just angry. I'm scrunchy and I don't want to misdirect it. So please respect the fact that I don't want to see you because if I see you, I may scream and it's not you. It's just the weight of it all. Um, it was the third year since my dad passed on December 21st. And yeah, it's been 3 years, but look, I'm still getting sweaty eyes from it. Today I don't like to remember, but it's impossible to forget. 4 days before Christmas, 4 days before my birthday, he died on a freaking cruise. Like, you don't forget that. Um, that's something that you remember because it was personal to you. Your friends don't. They've moved on. It's been 3 years. They may have come to the service. That wasn't until the first week in January because logistics. But they don't remember like that. He he didn't create them. He created me. He didn't live with them. He lived with my mom. So it's real, and anybody that hasn't lost somebody, they don't know. how to show up like that or what you need. And as I told one of my friends, the 21st is going to be a little hard. I actually almost made it to the day not remembering, which is, there's a lot of guilt that goes behind when you forget. There is, but it's a little less, if that makes sense. It's easier to go into December 22nd and look back and go, I I didn't remember. And then you feel guilty for not remembering, rather than spending the whole day trying to stay distracted so that it doesn't hit your heart space wrong. And we try and do a lot of different things to make my dad feel present. Just like there are plenty of times throughout the year that we do the same thing for my husband. His birthday happens to always be within a couple of days of Father's Day, and our anniversary is 2 weeks after his birthday. His death date was May 10th, but the funeral wasn't until May 21st. His birthday was a month later. So from April until July, it's boom, 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 boom. And in order to not let those grief waves hit, you change it up. But I do get angry a lot, and I use it as armor. And when the person that I said, I don't know what I'm going to need on the 21st, didn't even bother to check in, I took it personally. I had to remind myself repeatedly, they've never lost anybody. They don't know what you need. They pulled back so that you could focus on you and not have to answer texts or phone calls. They were doing you a favor. It hit me harder and it hit me different, and I got angry and continued to get agitated throughout the holiday because of that. And I didn't tell them what I needed. If I had said, I really need you to check in on me tomorrow, I know in my heart of hearts that they would have. I didn't say it, so they didn't do it. Now I know communication is key. See, I'm a coach, but sometimes I don't coach myself all that well. Okay, so moving on to Ross. Ross's coping styles are caretaking and protective coping. He can't fix the job loss for Rachel, but he can soften the landing. And he does that by letting her play. Go ahead, Rach. Keep increasing that ante. I'll play with you. And when she gets so excited over a full house, Ross just folds. It leads us, the viewers, to think he had a winning hand. But the writers did it in such a way that it's the flip of a coin as to really how that might have played out. And his indirect support to Rachel, instead of a big emotional talk, he gives her the win. And afterwards, he does give her a hug. And all of the friends get excited for her for that. And it does help. The group, they play as regulation. The game becomes a safe container for big feelings. They use humor as survival. And we see this every week with Chandler. Jokes keep the room from getting too heavy. The show keeps things from getting too heavy, even on those harder topic days. And they never make it the very special versions, but they do make it heavy sometimes. They always keep some humor. And that's the one thing that we have to remember in our own lives. We have to try and find the lighter side of those darker days. It may be impossible to laugh sometimes. Or maybe sometimes you feel guilty for the laughter. That's why I keep my cats around. They make me laugh and smile quite often. And why not? They're living, breathing things that are here for purpose, to comfort, to entertain, to be affectionate. And because they're cats and they do things on their own terms, what's really great about a cat is when they want your love and affection, you got to take it because they don't always come up to you. So, some coaching moments. The job rejection can hit like grief. And it's true. Like I said, and that's why I equated it to the whole proposal thing. It's not because you're dramatic, it's because it's a loss of direction, hope, that identity reframe. You spend so much time manifesting, right? The secret, the book The Secret is all about manifesting. Manifesting. I've got this great manifesting journal that you're supposed to write down everything that your heart desires so that it stays here, so that you make it, will it to become. Sometimes it works super fast, sometimes it doesn't work at all. But putting it out there into the universe, a big deal. And when what we're envisioning and what we're hoping for doesn't happen, again, it's a gut punch. Sometimes we don't need advice. Sometimes we need a win. Sometimes we don't need somebody to make us reopen the wound of our pain. Sometimes we just need somebody to sit down with us and have that cup of coffee and to talk about a Friends episode or a movie that we saw on TV last night or how cool my green squishy duck is. Just as a distraction conversation. It doesn't have to be anything intense. It can be very superficial, and that's fine. Sometimes that's all we need. It's really about who shows up. And the anger, that armor anger, comes when the people we depend on don't show up the way we need them to. Anger isn't the enemy, it's the information. If people in your circle do see that you have this anger, maybe they will start to get you to talk about it and open up about it and express it, because as you throw it out there, it starts to decompress. It's no longer a hurricane, whatever, on the scale, or an 8 on the Richter scale. It's manageable. It's a windstorm now instead of a hurricane or a tsunami or a really bad earthquake. Not talking about it, then it becomes like a tornado. You know, the hurricanes that have the tornadoes that follow. You've got your hurricane and you've got your storm. That's your anger. And when you let it fester and you let your mind just start spinning it out, what happens? It spirals. And that pair of socks that sat on the floor that hubby didn't put away or throw in the hamper, that sat there for 2 weeks, you're finally mad about. And now that's compiled on top of whatever it was that just broke the camel's back, like the dirty dish in the sink that didn't get rinsed out. And now, instead of a 2-minute conversation that could have just, it's swirling. And you're like Medusa. Your eyes are glowing, your hair's standing on end. You're like you just touched that static electric ball, and you're just shooting daggers out of your eyes. Ding, ding, ding. Nobody wants to be near you. Decompressing that anger is huge. And the right support system will notice the signs and help you talk through it. If you don't have a strong support system, journaling is very effective. Or do a video. You can do a video recording to yourself and tell yourself, hey, girl or guy, listen up. You do not need to be overreacting right now. Think about what's happening to you. This is simple. You can do this. And do it. You can be your own coach sometimes. That's where I'm going with it. Support doesn't always look like the deep talk, and it doesn't. Again, it can be something as simple as letting Rachel have the win. She needed a win that day. She got it. And even if she knew in her heart of hearts that he threw the game, she still got the win, and she got to feel like a big lady at that moment in time. And might not be the same as getting the job, but how many times, oh man, I can't even tell you how many times I've accepted job offers that had me in tears for accepting, because I knew that it wasn't the job I wanted. It was the job I needed to have. And oh, settling is not a fun thing. Let people be beginners. The women are terrible at first with playing poker. And that's the whole point. Because grief makes you a beginner at life again. You need to figure it out, especially at the end of something. Again, it doesn't have to be about death. The end of a relationship, of a friendship, of something that defined who you were. A year ago, one of my closest friends decided to cut me out of their lives. I reached out to them and said, "Hey, I'm in a real bad way. I just need a happy story from you. I'm glad you recognize." Oh, and by the way, you're the only person that I'm still in contact with. I'm glad you recognize that you need somebody. Support is good. I can't be there for you now. And a week later, they unfriended me on Facebook. 36 years of friendship. Long time. And wow. So grateful that I wasn't in a real dark space because that would have been enough to put me over the edge. So thank you very much for showing me that you are not the person that I needed in my corner. Thank you for showing me that I can rely on myself. Self love is important, self love is real. And relying on other people to help dig you out of a bad time can't happen. I know I'm kind of contradicting myself because I did tell somebody I need you on the 21st, or at least it's going to be a hard day. I didn't say I need you. Um, but that's the difference too. When you have love and respect for yourself, you know when you can do things on your own and when you need it. And if that means going out and finding a support group because you don't have an inner circle that's strong enough, then you do that. If that means that, and if you can't get somewhere, if you are new to an area and you can't find any kind of support group, go to church. Even if you're not affiliated with them, even if it's something you don't believe in or it's a denomination that you're not comfortable with, most churches are open quite a bit of time during the day. Going in there, there will be somebody to talk to, whether it's a priest or a nun or a pastor or somebody else from the parish or church community. And just having somebody to be able to sit with and hold space for you might be all you need. So be mindful of all of that. Um, so if you're in a season where you keep hearing no, if it doesn't mean that you're failing. It means you're trying. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is give yourself one small win on purpose. Something that reminds you that you're still here, still capable, and still becoming. I'll see you next time when we actually are moving into episode 19, the the one where the monkey gets away. We're coming into the final couple episodes of season 1, guys. And you can look for my books on Amazon under Karen Bulinski Mathison. And I'm excited to say that Raw Emergence, the workbook, it's a big calendar workbook, will be hitting the stands about a week from now. So see you soon. Da 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 da.